Hey there, my name is Hudson Beaudry, and today I'll be doing my presentation on the Leadership Challenge. So, I've grown in many different ways through reading this book, but I think the most I've grown is in my view of leadership. It sounds somewhat obvious, I guess, if I'm reading a book called The Leadership Challenge, but it really did change in a drastic way. So, growing up, I think I viewed leadership as more of an innate quality than anything else. It was something you either had or you didn't have. And so through this book, I've realized that that's not really true. Anybody can really be a leader. It's not about the person, more or less the personality, I guess, if that makes sense. It's the way that you are and the way that you act helps you become a leader. Anybody can really be a leader. It's just the the practices that you implement that show how you can be a better leader, if that makes sense. Um, so I've viewed it as more of a binary scale rather than a spectrum in that way of these people are good leaders and these people are bad leaders, so therefore followers. Whereas it's more or less you can fall wherever on this spectrum that you choose to fall on. You pretty much decide your own destiny in that way of deciding which practices to implement in your life, and if you don't implement those practices, the five practices, then you're not going to be a good leader. You're more set out to be a follower rather than a leader. Um, but if you implement these five practices, you'll be a fantastic leader and you'll do well in what you're doing. So I think that is also what's impacted me the most is just grappling with the idea of leadership is something that anybody can use, and it's not just something that uh, only specific managers have or only specific people in general have. Anybody has the opportunity. It's what you do with that opportunity that counts. I think the practice that impacted me the most was practice number two, inspire a shared vision. I think this one impacted me the most, mostly because I've mostly in my life seen leaders, which I guess wouldn't be great leaders, not really care about other people in that way. So it's more or less a shared vision than the big boss has a plan and it's up to everybody else to implement it. I've seen in TV shows, I guess, where you would have a big group of people, probably like a boardroom or something like that, where people would come together and have all these ideas. But that's never really been something that I've had to deal with in my own life yet. Um, so I think that struck me as a very impactful practice because that is a very important thing to do is to have a shared vision and not just be your own vision because oftentimes if it's just you and no one else is giving their own thoughts to it, there's going to be issues with that process or idea. um, I think the practice that resonated with me the most though was practice number four, enabling others to act. So as a manager, I've been been in this place a lot where I have had to enable others to act. If I'm gone, I have to make sure people know what they're doing and getting to that point. But in order to do so, I have to make sure that I trust them and they trust me. I can't just leave a random person with a job to do. Um, and I have to make sure that they know what they're doing and that they know what they're doing because them realizing that they know what they're doing is just as important as them knowing what they're doing. So that confidence factor is huge. And so I think that resonated with me the most because it's something I've subconsciously done for a while, specifically with my own work. But having read it in this book, it just shows me that it is something that has been a very important thing and has fostered my own leadership growth in my own life. I also think that practice number 5 is also a very important practice, as it shows a way to build up others. I think through reading this especially, that encouragement is just such a huge key process in building people up in leadership. If there's nobody encouraging you in what you're doing, you're not going to feel satisfied or confident in what you're doing. And so then again, that bumps back to practice number 4 is inspiring confidence, or enhancing self-determination with the strengthening others and enabling others to act. But encouraging others builds confidence, and it makes people feel better about themselves, and so they're going to do a better job. And it also includes giving a sense of community. In the last chapter that we read, chapter 12, before chapter 13, but in chapter 12 it talks about doing things with your crew, that builds a collective community, which helps a ton. One of my close friends was in an internship this summer with a insurance company, and every Friday they went out and they would do axe throwing or bowling, and they would do these events even through COVID. They would make sure that it was safe for them to do so, but they would do these events to build a community with each other. And at the end of the summer, he had one of the most productive and best summers he's ever had, and fully intends on coming back to work at this insurance company because of the community that they built within him. It's inspired a sense of leadership in him, and that's something, because I've seen it firsthand, it feels so important to me. So specifically, I'd like to grow as a leader in I think practice 3 is something I'd specifically like to grow in. Taking risks is a difficult thing for me, so I'd like to grow in that regard, because taking risks is huge for leaders. I've always been a person who plays things safe and doesn't like to disrupt the status quo, if that makes sense. And I think it's good for a leader as well as good for a Christian, that you not only get out of your comfort zone, but that you're able to challenge what's going on around you. Coming to college, I think was a wake up call for me in a lot of ways, because I was, for the first time I think in my life, I was able to look into challenging the process. And I think that is a huge thing where I'd like to grow, because I'd like to continually challenge that process and continually get out of my comfort zone, in order to help me succeed as an individual in the future. The next 5 to 10 years, personally, I'm not sure where I see myself. I see myself using these practices, and so wherever that leads, I'm not sure where I see myself, but I see myself being a good leader wherever I am. Through reading this book, I've been able to see how all of these practices come together and mesh you into maybe not the perfect leader, but as good of a leader as you can be. And I think that's really important, whether it's a managerial job, whether it's a accounting job, whether it's a lawyer, or anything like that. If you follow these practices and come together and work to the best of your ability while also challenging those around you, you created an environment that benefits everyone involved. So regardless of where I am, I would I would like to be a good leader, and I think through this book I have the ability to do that.